Hello, welcome back to another Saturday Tech Ambrosia stream. It's been a while, sorry it's taken so long. I also want to apologize for the camera quality today. Apparently my camera has chosen violence today. It's decided that all it wants to do is blow me out completely. I actually have the auto exposure turned off, but it doesn't listen to me unless I go in and turn it off manually again every time I change scenes. So, sorry. I'm just gonna look like extra garbage today. But I'm not the important part today. We are looking at some old Sega stuff, and we were going to look at this Matrox DigiDesktop. This guy here, unfortunately, step 1 in the manual, well, step 0 in the manual, is to plug it in and use it as your primary graphics card. And it didn't work. So this option A is off the table, unfortunately. I'm not like surprised about this. If you find these on eBay that are tested working, they're like $200 or $300. I didn't pay that for this. I paid 25 bucks for it. That's why I picked it up, because it's just too good of a deal to pass up. And it turns out there's a reason it was $25. So this is going to go in my shelf of dead graphics cards, unfortunately. We can talk about it real quick before I put it away, though, because it is really interesting. It's pretty much exactly as it looks. There's a lot of chips on here, but they all make a lot of sense. Let's see, this one and this one way over here, those are both first generation Matrox Millennium GPUs. You can see they are marked as 2064W. That's just the relabeling of the IS Storm graphics card. So that's, you know, a 2D chip, a pretty good 2D chip, actually a very good 2D chip, and then the same 3D engine as was in the Impression. Then we've got these little guys here, 1 and 2 way at the end of the board. These are Matrox Video Ingest chips, as far as I can tell. And there's 2 of them, yes, which means that you can ingest more than one stream of video on this card. Also, with 2 Millenniums, you can output more than one stream of video on this card. There's a lot going on. There's we've got board-to-board connectors here and here for something called Matrox Drive, and I think this is another encoder add-on. I believe by default this Altera FPGA here, it'll focus on it. There we go. Does the encoding. So all the encoding is done on this card. The system requirements for this thing are ridiculous. It wants a Pentium 2 266 and Windows NT 4. So the CPU is not doing any of the encoding on this card for sure, because this can ingest, per the manual, this can ingest 4 streams of SD video, 4 simultaneously. So yeah, no, the card's doing all of the work for sure. And I think most of that encoding work is probably through this FPGA. Anyway, we've got, this is a PCI bridge on some versions of this card. This is an Intel chip that's, you know, super easy to realize it's a PCI bridge. Then up here underneath this, it's not really a heatsink, but underneath this thing that looks like a heatsink, it actually just says DigiDesktop on it. You can see that there, it just says DigiDesktop. We've got 1 and 2 RAM decks for display out, for analog display output. Then I believe we've got, these are, I think, 1 megabyte SG RAMs. We've got 8 of them per Millennium, so it's 8 per card, for a total of 16. I believe, anyway. So, it doesn't work. Unfortunately, we're not going to be looking at this today. Which is kind of unfortunate, because I've never actually used Windows NT 4, so that would have been kind of cool to try. Anyway, I have a backup capture solution, which is much worse. I'll show you in a second when we switch over to the desktop view. And God, jeez, this camera just hates me today. Yikes. Alright, so who have we got in the chat? We've got Jack68K who says BNC cable. Let me show you the cables for this. Where did I put them? There we go. Cables for this thing are ridiculous. They use this, like, it looks like a Mac video connector, but it's way more pins, right? Like it's a high density pin out like a VGA connector would have, and it it comes out to a VGA output, and then you've got these two super long composite connectors that are for video input. And they end in S-video, actually. See that there? So they end in S-video, both of them do. And they include these little cable adapters for BNC, if you want to use BNC. I also picked up a bag of these little, like, BNC to RCA connectors, so you can do just regular old composite. This should have come with all of the cables and connectors you needed. There were also a pair of cables for these that used, instead of having video out, you could get 4 monitors out of it. It just had two, it just ended in 2 VGA connectors. And this is not DMS59 or anything. Like, if you look at this, that's not even close to like DMS59 or LFH60 that we're used to seeing on Matrox cards with multiple display outs. So yeah, it's a weird card. I'll keep looking for one that actually works, because I have a problem. I'm addicted to like vintage video capture. I don't know why. It's always bad, but I love it. I'm always curious about it. I have a whole pack of these. I found a pack of 5 of them on eBay, so I picked them up. And I want to see if I can continue getting a DigiDesktop to work. I think it'd be fun. Have a retro video capture solution for when I need to do composite work. Anyway, who have we got in the chat? Large on OnePlus is here. Says hello. Hello, how's it going? Efreet is here. Efreet05. Who else? Everything is broken garage. Hello, Ryan. How's it going? How is it going? Trina's here from Trina's Technobabble. Hello. Trina, your graphics card is here, safe and sound. We saw the last time we streamed. Gutbomb says, that's such a nice looking card. Yeah, right? Like, I really wish it would work. I really wish it would work. Yes, Charlotte says, I see an Altera FPGA. Yes. I can read you the model number on it. If you're curious, I wouldn't imagine it's a huge FPGA. But it is an EPF 10K20 RC208-4. I have no idea what that means. But if we look at the card again, the closest EEPROM to it, I think, is going to be this little guy here. That probably self-programs it when it boots, is my guess. And then maybe the VBIOS is in this one. I'm not sure. I have no idea. But yeah, FPGA, pretty cool. Pretty cool. Gutbomb says NT4 equals Badwin 95. B&B connectors, Swedish chef connectors. Yeah, right? Exactly. Ifrit says, but can it play Expendable? No. This is a first generation Millennium, which has, as I said, it's the, where is it? I've got one here, because of course I have one. I've got an impression here. Been meaning to do a video on this one, but this is the impression. This is the impression plus, because it's in PCI instead of ISA. But this was Matrox's first 3D engine, and it's pretty bad. It accelerates Garot shading and I think Z buffer testing. That's about it. And that same 3D engine just got plunked right into the first generation Millennium. This card, I haven't tested it yet, but supposedly this card is just absolute garbage when it comes to DOS games. Like Mode X and Mode Y on it are just terrible. Basically has no VGA acceleration. So that should be fun to find out. This one is fun because it needs a pretty old system to actually work. I I picked this up for cheap. I'm like, it's probably, you know, it's broken card money. It's probably not going to work. So I put it in like a Pentium 2 system, or I think a Pentium 3, and it didn't work. I'm like, oh well, I guess it's broken. And then I put it in my Socket 7 system, and it worked. Like, wait, really? It'll also boot up in my socket 5 system when that system decides it wants to boot. It's very particular. So it really needs an older system to run, which is obvious if you think about what this thing is. The Impression was a very old chipset, having been designed for ISA, VLB, and PCI support. Well, actually, not even designed for PCI support. They had to make the plus revision for PCI support. But yeah, it's an old 3D chipset. It's right up there with the 3D Labs Glint. Remember that one? I think LGR's got a video on it. There was it's like the only 3D accelerator for 486s. It uses the 3D Labs Glint chip. The Impression is the same generation. Super old, doesn't do a whole lot. And they just, when they made the first Millennium, they just took that 3D engine and just plunked it right into the chip. They improved all the 2D performance. Like the Millennium is a phenomenal 2D card. Like these things rock as 2D cards. They're great in Windows, they're great in DOS. They're fast, they're really compatible. Their 3D engine, garbage. Total garbage. That's a possibility. Hubert Hahn says maybe the BIOS in the Matrox card has bit rot. Maybe reflashing it can revive it. That's definitely something I can try. I have no idea where I would get BIOS images for any of the EEPROMs on this card, but that's definitely a possibility. That's actually what I was thinking, is because when you plug this in and you start up your machine, so this wants to be your primary graphics card. The BIOS doesn't even see it as a graphics card, and nothing on it is in bad shape. It's all solid state components. We've got all tantalum capacitors. There's no electrolytic caps on here. There's nothing on here that would say to me that this is a broken card, which makes me think that maybe it is one of the EEPROMs. And there's, I think, I'm gonna have to look up part numbers, but it looks like there's several EEPROMs on this board, which would make sense to make it work with all the glue logic on this thing. That doesn't surprise me. But at least for today, we have to give up on this one. We'll return to it in the future. Is that a? I thought this chip said Atmel, and I'm like, really? Have an Atmel microcontroller on the board? There's probably something like that on that board. But we are not without options. I have an alternative composite capture solution. It's not great. I don't know if I don't think it's going to be any worse than the DigiDesktop would have been running an NT4. But yeah, basically, this is how we're going to test all the Sega Saturns today. And there's more than one Sega Saturn here today. This is just a basic, like, $15 composite to HDMI thing that you get on Amazon. It's nothing special. Powered over USB 5 volts. The little switch on the side is a very optimistic switch that switches between 720p and 1080p. Extremely optimistic. The nice part is that it does actually output 60 fields per second, which a lot of these don't do. They'll mostly just, they'll combine the fields into a single frame and output 30 frames per second. This will actually do 60 fields per second, so like fluid motion in games actually comes through pretty well. It's still composite though. It still looks like garbage. I will show you in just a moment, because I have a proof of life test, as it were. Where did I put the power? There's the power. The proof of life test for this little composite capture solution to show you that things are working, so we don't jump right into Sega Saturns that may or may not work. Let me switch over there. There we go. No signal. Wonderful. Proof of life test is an old PlayStation, which does function. So let me show you. See if this works. See if the sound is coming through at the correct volume. Outrina asks, "How was your time away?" It was very good. It was very, very good. I had a wonderful time. It's never enough time away, right? You always have to come back, and then it was always awful. Gutbomb asks, "Amber, do you have a Miro capture card? If not, do you want one?" I don't know what a Miro is. I don't know what that is. Is that the... There's some capture card floating around out there that's got like a DVI connector on it, and it's like PCI Express X4. It's supposed to be like the capture card to get for like weird low resolution stuff. I don't have one of those. I don't. I would kind of like one. What else do we have here? Everything is Broken Garage says, I have a current project that is using NT4. A vessel that no one knows anything about, and its mission is critical in developing a virtualization option for replacement of it. Dang. Dang. Nice. I know you're Canadian, but like, the US Navy has been known to run NT4 on submarines, which is kind of terrifying. Ifrit says it can't be any worse than S3 Savage. Oh, it can. Oh, it can. I still want to do a video on early S3 cards because I think they're kind of fascinating. The hubris in that company, I'm telling you, like they always thought that the thing that they brought out was just, you know, market leaders, terrific, absolutely great. They priced their products correctly for what they were, which was garbage. But even with the Savage 3D and the Savage 4, like they were competent products, but they were so late to market that they didn't matter. They were still like, yeah, these are great. Oh, so much hubris. Anyway, proof of life test. Let's turn on the PlayStation, and let's see if I got the volume levels correct on this. I didn't plug it in. Ah, things are going well already. Plug in the PlayStation. There we go. Ta-da! It does work. So, yeah, that's welcome to Composite. That's what things looked like back in 1995. All right, so we can get the show on the road and start testing some Sega Saturns. Turn you off. If you're curious, the disc in the PlayStation is Spyro. Hubert Hahn says, no wireless power. How old is this? I was messing around with this before stream to make sure that like my capture setup worked, so I could do the proof of life on stream and have it not blow up in my face. I'm pretty sure either the capture device doesn't like to run for super long, or the PlayStation doesn't like to run for super long, because I started to get some pretty major video instability about 10-15 minutes into running this. I'm guessing this needs quite a few capacitors replaced. It's of that age. It is of that age. Alright, so the first Sega Saturn is the one just on top of the box here. This is... So I have 3 Saturns to test here today. I don't actually know if any of them work. I think they're all a gift from a friend of mine. Last year, December, he's slimming down his collection, going 100% Mister, which makes sense. I mean, to have, you know, a machine that big that can just run every classic game system with, you know, really good accuracy, why wouldn't you? Why wouldn't you just sell or give away all your consoles? I'm extremely thankful for it, because I think he knew this. Of all the consoles that I don't have anymore, that I used to have, I miss my Saturn the most. And there have been some recent developments. Obviously, like, getting one of these things working today is, you know, kind of a pain in the butt. Like, this one is... the spring on this one's broken. Like, you can put in, like, an optical drive emulator that replaces the actual CD-ROM drive to, you know, with an SD card. They're very expensive, like, incredibly expensive. There have been some recent developments where there are cartridge slot-based ROM, basically ROM loaders. I didn't realize that you could do this on the Saturn, but you can load games straight through the cartridge port. They never released any games that ran through the cartridge port, but apparently that support is in the system because that's how these ROM loaders work. And they're super cheap because they're just a single PCB with an edge connector on it. You just plug right into the slot. And yeah, they're, I don't know, like 40 or 50 bucks. And you just put an SD card in them and ta-da, you've got your whole games library, which would be fantastic. Fantastic. I had the opportunity back in the day to buy Panzer Dragoon Saga when it was new. And I said, oh, it's too expensive. I'll wait till it gets cheaper. It's never, that's, the joke is it never got cheaper. It never got cheaper. And now I think a complete in-box set is like $1,000, I think. I've seen single discs of Panzer Dragoon Saga. It's a 4-disc game. I've seen single discs go for like $195 for just a disc. So yeah, having a ROM loader or an optical drive emulator would be fantastic because yeah, there's no way I'm going to afford the library for this thing. Speaking of the library, I have 2 discs in my possession. These were ridiculously expensive to get a hold of, but a bare disc of Sega Rally, which is fantastic, super fun. And then probably my favorite game on the system other than Panzer Dragoon Saga, which is Nights and Dreams. And finding a disc of Nights that wasn't like $200 was really difficult. And there's reasons why this wasn't $200. It's a little rough. We'll see if it actually loads up. I don't know if it will, but I probably need to resurface it before it'll actually work. But yeah, so what all do I have? So I have the Saturns. There's this box behind me, this white box behind me, which is full of controllers and another Saturn. And then there's a hard case on the floor here, you can just barely see, that has another Saturn in it. And then, yes, up top, we've got the arcade stick. And it actually doesn't feel too bad. Like, the stick itself is pretty mushy, but the buttons, quite good. Quite good. So we're gonna test everything today. The most important component today, sticky notes, so I can tell which things work and which things don't. So let's get the show on the road. So Saturn has an internal power supply. I'm gonna switch over to the desktop cam so y'all can see this. There we go. Saturn's got an internal power supply. And we've got... Do I have the AV cables for this? Oh, shoot. I thought I had the AV cables for this. Where in this case? Oh, the AV cables. The AV cables have the same pinout as the 32X. You remember the Sega 32X? Yeah, there we go. AV cables. Awesome. Oh. And a Mickey Mouse cord. Nice. Wait, there's... Oh, hello. Memory card. That's RAM, by the way, for stuff like Street Fighter. Forget which Street Fighter it was that used it. And we've got an action replay. Pretty cool. That's awesome. Alright. The foam in that box is disintegrating rapidly. I'm gonna need to find another way to store that at some point. There. Okay. AV cables. I am smart. Okay, let's unplug the PlayStation's AV cables and plug in the Saturn. Okay. Yeah. As I was saying, the AV pinout on this is the same as the 32X. Plug this in weird connector. Yeah, no. Yeah, no. Maybe it's not the same as a 32X. Maybe this is a 32X AV cable. I don't have the right AV cable. This would be a very short stream. This is the wrong AV cable. Yeah, that doesn't seem like the right cable. This is why you don't test things live. Let's see if I have any more cables for this. Man, I thought they were the same thing. Super does not fit on there, though. I bet that's a Model 2 Genesis connector. Oh, it's gonna be a quick stream today. Controllers. That is just a Saturn and just a bunch of controllers. Oh boy. Did y'all ever see the original North American controller for the Saturn? It's awful. It looks great, like it looks super cool. It's all like 3D and stuff. It feels like garbage. Oh, it's so bad. Everything's in the wrong place. Like you hold it in your hand and it's just everything's in the wrong place. Nothing is where you expect it to be. The revision controllers were the Japanese controllers. Far more sensible. Everything just falls to hand. It's so much nicer to use. Oh. You thought the Xbox's Duke controller was bad. Alright, well, I guess I don't have the AV cable for this, which is unfortunate. I guess we're not testing Saturns today. Shoot. That is a bummer. Efreet says, "You composite, give me RGB or give me death." Certainly a possible mod for one of these, whichever one actually works. Doing an RGB mod on it. Certainly a possibility. Rose is here, says, "Hello, how goes the Saturning?" Well, we've discovered that I don't have the right AV cable for the Saturn. I'm pretty sure this is the AV cable for either a 32X or a Model 2 Genesis, I think. It does not fit in the Saturn. Not even close. I mean, it looks sort of like it would fit in the Saturn, but it's not the right cable. May have to take a rain check on this one. So, what else do we look at? Oh, you know what I got? I got a new 3D printer. It's so big, I don't think I can bring it in here and show it to you. Blake DMC says, "Game over, yeah!" Exactly. I know, right? Blake DMC said, "I guess we can't do everybody's Supersonic Racing." I wanted to get Sonic R. For as much as everybody memes about that game, it's really expensive to actually get like a physical disc of it. I would love to have another physical disc of Sonic R. I used to have it, and I actually really like the game. Like if you actually like play it on the hardware with the right controller, like it's hard. And it's kind of sucky at first because it doesn't play like any other racing game you've played before, but like once you get used to the controls, like using the triggers to bank and stuff, it's playable. It's perfectly playable. It's enjoyable even. It's a fun game once you actually like learn it. I think the problem with it is that no one wanted to learn it, which is understandable. Pixel Pipes is here. Hello, welcome. Pixel Pipe says, I literally clicked on this right when Amber said it's so big, I don't think I can get it in here and show it. Fine, I will. I'll do it. I will take that bait. Hang on. Move this all the way back. Oh, knocking stuff over. I got a new 3D printer. It's a little large. Slightly big. Oh, that's a big one. I had to figure out how to fit it in my 3D printing corner, because I don't think it's actually going to fit there. Clara John says, oh, finally, you can print the massive cube of solid plastic. Definitely the best use of a 3D printer. Oh. Nefrit says, it looks like my computer room. Yeah. It's a mess in here, sorry. Boy, is it a mess in here. I'm like halfway through about a dozen projects. It's terrible. Send help. Ah. Blake TMZ says the Japanese import copy of Sonic R is cheaper than a US port. Yeah, that sounds about right. Because it takes effort. Because it takes effort to get a Japanese game running on a US Saturn. So, you know, Japanese copies of games are always cheaper. Trina asks, is it big enough to print Gut Bomb's case? Trina is talking about the SE Mini, which, if you don't know, is you print it on a normal printer in 4 parts, and then you assemble them together. And you can put a Mac SE board in it, and have like a little like LC-style case for a Mac SE. If you've got like just the board, or you have like a broken SE that you don't really want to repair. And yes, Trina, there's a version of this STL that's all 4 pieces put together. You need a very large printer to print it. And yes, the SV08 is large enough to print that all in one go. It's part of the reason I got it. Mostly I got it to print larger stuff like that. I think it'd be kind of cool to design some larger 3D printed computer case things. I still need to release my final test bench prints. Blake DMC says, also Sonic R is on PC. Yes, it is. Yes, it is. Yeah, that's fair. Ifrit says, just get an NTSC J Saturn. Yeah, that's an option for sure. Ifrit says, gotta print it with puke-colored ABS for authenticity. Yeah, for real. This is just a test print that I did on my Ender 3, which is the only printer I have at the moment. I gave away my A1 Mini. Really great printer. I loved it. Gave it away to a friend of mine to give to his kiddo, who also absolutely loves it, and is following engineering tracks in school. You'd be surprised how young they start these days on engineering stuff. Like they're in like the equivalent of shop class right now, and they've got modern shop classes have, you know, CAD computers and 3D printers and stuff, laser cutters, and, you know, actual like CNC tools. It's pretty cool. I remember when the most sophisticated thing in my shop class was a drill press. Ah. What else have we got? Da, 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 da. Rose says that checks out. Also, I literally just put that same Logitech controller away a few days ago. Yeah, this is the Logitech controller that everyone has. It's the what is this thing? The F310. They have like 5 versions of this, but yeah, it's the one everybody has. Everybody has it because it's a good controller. Like, it's still pretty clicky. Feels good to use. I like it. It's a good controller. Trina says we had pencils and paper in shop class. Yeah, exactly. With like grid paper and like, yeah, you grid paper and your straight edges and stuff to do your drafting. And like I said, the most sophisticated thing in there was the drill press. That was like, ooh, wow. It moves the drill by itself. That's amazing. Ifrit says just a wood, metal shop, and auto shop. Yeah, I didn't even have an auto shop back then when I was in school. It was very basic. It was very basic. Very, very basic. So, I don't know. What do we want to do? We've got a good hour and a half left to stream. We can't look at any Saturns, unfortunately, because I messed up and didn't check my AV cables. What are we thinking? What are we thinking? Pixelpipe says, "Are you a car enthusiast?" Not really. I mean, I'm of two worlds, right? On the one hand, I would love like a really well looked after, like mid-80s Japanese sedan of some sort. Maybe like a Toyota Cressida with the stick shift. I would like that. Straight 6, rear wheel drive, big luxury sedan. I'd love that. That'd be nice. Yeah, like the all velvet interior, like it's hilarious. On the other hand, I make a lot of road trips because I don't like to fly. So I want something that's like fuel efficient and like has driver assistance in case like I, you know, start to fall asleep on hour 10 of a road trip or something. I want it to be able to like keep me in my lane or like beep at me to wake me up. So I'm of two completely separate worlds when it comes to cars. Beyond just the whole like, I really wish we would build some high-speed rail because I'd really love to travel on rail instead of planes because rail is so much more comfortable. But yeah, that's not really a car enthusiast. I don't call myself a car enthusiast anyway. BPS Car Audio is here. Hello! As I'm talking about how much not a car enthusiast I am. Ifrit says Gus Dance Party. I vote Gus Dance Party. I do have my Pico Gus right up here. I keep it close by. If y'all haven't looked at this project, I highly recommend it. The good old Pico Gus. My name's on the back for some reason. This is basically an emulation of the original Gravis ultrasound in a Raspberry Pi Pico RP2040, right down there. It does a bunch more stuff than just a Gus. Like because it's an RP2040, you can flash it with new firmware, and that you can flash it from DOS while it's running in the machine. So like you can just change what your sound card is on the fly. It's pretty great. It does, I think, Creative Music System, Tandy 3 Voice, AdLib, Sound Blaster. I think Sound Blaster 16 is new. Obviously the Gus, which is what it was for originally. It can also be an MPU 401 intelligent MPU with this little MIDI out thing. And then this USB port on the back right there. USB port on the back. You can plug a USB gamepad into it, and it'll turn it into a GamePort gamepad on the PC side of things. So it's pretty great. If you haven't looked into the PicoGus, I highly recommend it. It's kind of a Swiss Army knife card, you know? It's pretty cool. I like it. Hubert Hans says, good night, bedtime. Have a lovely evening. Yeah, they're nice. Oh yeah, Pixelpipe says, bring back luxury trains, am I right? Yeah, absolutely. 100%. So I'm a little spoiled, right? So I live in New Mexico here. I've been here for about 4 years. And there is a high-speed rail line from just south of Albuquerque, where I'm in. And it goes all the way up to Santa Fe. And it is so nice. I mean, it's not like high speed by European standards of high speed rail, but like it'll hit 75 or 80 miles an hour. It'll go faster than the traffic on the freeway that it runs between, which is kind of cool to see, right? Like you're just sitting in your seat comfortably with either a work table in front of you. You can work on your laptop. You can just watch cars go by because you're faster than them. It's really nice. It's really nice. I wish this was in more places because, man, it's such a nice thing, and it's quiet and it's smooth, and your ears aren't constantly doing the thing with altitude that they do in planes. So nice. Oh, CRTified says there's no Sound Blaster 16 yet, but stuff is always being worked on. Okay, yeah, I thought there were rumors of the Sound Blaster 16 coming to the PicoGus. Maybe that has not happened yet, but anyway, classic Sound Blaster support, which is pretty great. Maybe it's Sound Blaster 2? SB 2.0 support? I remember. Oh yeah, SB Pro. Maybe that's it. Yeah, Pickle says getting SB Pro would be the next big milestone. Oh, the Pico doesn't have the CPU power. I guess. I don't know how much CPU power you need to do the Sound Blaster Pro. Oh, there you go. So CRTified says there's Sound Blaster 2.0 support. Plus the creative music system. Cool. For the, like, 4 games that use CMS. It's still fun, though. CMS is a really unique sound. Oh, nice. Blake DMC says, my Japanese PS2 Ocean Blue got for $90. Couldn't pass it up. That's not bad. Those are tough to find. I mean, tough to find stateside, anyway. Yeah. Rose says it was strange. My high school had vinyl printers, 3D printers, CNCs, robotics class, and stuff that just moved in during the transition from middle school to high school. Cool stuff. Yeah, that's not bad. That is not bad. Oh. Hubert Hans says there are BIOS files. None for the DigiDesktop directly, though. Yeah, that makes sense. Looks like YouTube might have eaten your link. Hubert went to bed. Okay, so it's overclocked as it is. Okay, yeah, so that's fair. They're running the Pico. They're running the RP2040 overclocked already, so that makes sense. Just not enough. Just not enough cycles. It's funny that it can mix all the wavetable, all the Rompler stuff that the Gus does, but it doesn't have enough CPU power to do a Sound Blaster 2.0 or a Sound Blaster Pro. That's kind of funny. The OPL3 part is the CPU limit. Interesting that that's the limit. That's so weird. Because you would think that the mixing all the sound channels on the Gus would be the limit. With a harder thing to do, but I guess not. Clarjon says, silly idea, a spoof of the Windows activation watermark that says activate Tech Ambrosia for your scenes. That'd be pretty good. That'd be pretty good to stick it down in the corner there. This Tech Ambrosia is not activated. Yeah, CMS is real simple. Two SAA 1099 chips. Yeah, but it's a fun sound. I forget, is it square waves, triangle waves, sawtooth? I don't remember. It's real simple. Real simple. It's a fun sound though. It's a fun sound. Oh, what else? I'm close to being able to daily my Quadra 700 that's right here, that's taunting me every day. I've ordered the battery replacement kits from Mac Air? I forget who made them. They're PCBs that clip into the half AA holder, and then you clip in a coin cell battery to replace the PRAM battery. So it'll be nice. It's kind of important on the Quadra 700. Like, it's not essential, but like if I want to boot up off like that external video card that we tried several streams ago, it doesn't remember any of its settings without that parameter RAM, without the PRAM, the BIOS battery. So it's nice to have that, so I can save that. I can save my mode 32 selection so that it actually sees all of its RAM when it boots, which would be nice. Pickle136 asks, do you have an 8088 machine? I'm building micro 8088 this winter. Ron of Ron's Computer Videos gave me a Tandy when I visited him this summer. I think it's an 8086. I don't think it's an 8088. Maybe it is. He basically just like, here, take this. It was just a whole box full of all of the parts of this particular Tandy, and I have not looked at it yet to like sort any of it out because I'm just kind of like, okay, sure. Machines that old aren't really my thing, although I am curious about the Tandys. I forget who did the series on the Tandy machines. Maybe it was LGR. But they're really interesting, like almost PCs. The Tandy 1000s, the later ones after the color computer, they're really interesting because there were some really neat customizations that Tandy made, that Radio Shack made to those machines, that I would have made the PC platform a lot better if they'd been adopted across the whole PC ecosystem. But as the PC is, it's a race to the bottom always. New features don't really get adoption unless they're like superb new features. Asmodeus says, I grew up with a Tandy 1000 TX. Yeah, stuff like that. Like, they're really interesting machines. Ifrit asks, didn't Tandys start as PC Junior clones? Maybe? That's another machine I really don't know anything about. A PC Junior is completely off my radar. Anything older than like a 486, I got nothing. This is my computer growing up, like in the family house. Like, Dad bought it, stuck it in the living room, and it was the family computer. Was an Apple II GS. I have very fuzzy memories when I was very, very small, like playing edutainment games on like a giant membrane keyboard on an Apple IIe or maybe a 2 Plus. But pretty quickly after that, he got the 2GS, and we had the 2GS as the family computer for years and years before we had any kind of Mac. I was at Apple. I lived in an Apple household my whole growing up, all of my growing up years. So it was mostly Apple IIGS, honestly. Oh, there you go. Asmodeus says it wasn't a clone, but it was inspired by the Junior. Yeah, right? I mean, that was the thing about the Tandys, right? And I guess about the Junior as well. The extra graphics and the built-in sound is pretty cool. Clarjon says the apple doesn't fall far from the directory tree. I think you mean the .ds store. Yeah, that's what I thought about it, right? Asmodeus says that Tandy basically fixed everything IBM borked on the PC Junior. That's about what I feel like. It's the more interesting of those machines that tried to like take the original PC and just extend it, you know, to like make it a more interesting and fun computer. Yeah. Oh yeah. I guess I can go grab it and see what it is. I haven't looked at it. Let's go get it. I have no idea. It'll be an adventure. Okay. Goodies. It smells like old computer, and I mean it in the good way. Not the like capacitor leaking way. Let's go have a look at the. Where did I put it? Desk cam. There we go. All right. So I think this is connectors or system disks, maybe extra keycaps. What do we got? Tandy keyboard. Just a membrane or something. Doesn't feel particularly amazing. Looks like a Model M. It's not a Model M. What is this thing? Got a back plate that came off. A 1000 SL2. That is big. We got some extra goodies in there. Let's get this out of here with one hand. Ooh, yep. I don't have enough space. Okay. There she be. This is, yeah, Tandy 1000 SL2. Whoop, there we go. Look at that. That is basic. What do we run it from here? Yeah, 8086. An AMD 8086. Hey Fritz says, am I the only one that likes the smell of old computers? I don't know, I think it's kind of charming. Yeah, there's surprisingly little in here. It's a pretty empty box. Oh, mounting gubbins, good. Important. What do we got in here? Yeah, there's not a lot on this board. That's kind of impressive. Oh gosh, that is CGA, isn't it? Looking at the video out, I'm like, oh, that is totally CGA. Keyboard and right and left joystick. How quaint. Put this down on the bench so you'll see it. Look at that. CJ or TTL, monitor, printer, which is an edge connector, normal serial port, right and left joystick, and keyboard. Yeah, I don't know anything about these things. They're just fascinating. Got a floppy drive. That even take normal 3.5-inch discs? This emoji says it's pseudo VGA. And Pixel Pipe says it looks like it would be fun to kit out. Hey, I mean, it's got 8-bit ISA, so I just throw the PicoGus in there. I don't know if it's fast enough to run an ultrasound. Pickle says, let's see a tantalum blow up. Can we not? Can we not and say we did? Oh. Got what, headphone jacks on the front? Yeah, speaker, mic, audio. Audio misspelled as AODIO? Wow. This is wild. 1988. Huh. We got a whole lot of nothing in that thing. But yeah, that's the Tandy that I got from Ron. It's an 8086, it turns out. Should be interesting. I don't have anything to like. I don't even know what kind of discs it takes. If these are like needs 360K discs or what. Floppy drive doesn't seem to want to take 3.5-inch discs. Don't seem to fit in there. If that's bent from shipping or what. It's like the shroud on it is interfering with the mechanism. Pickle says I'd use an XT IDE and skip the floppy. It's another thing I don't have. I should probably pick one up. As Modi says, Tandy video is like between EGA and VGA. The orange labels on the PSU are ominous. These say... What do these say? Oh, of course, no user serviceable parts inside. Take to an authorized service center for service. And then it says that in 6 languages. And the other one is turn off computer and wait 10 seconds before inserting or removing any option board. That's promising. Use a network card for the BIOS and I/O card for IDE. I mean, again, I don't have an EEPROM flasher. I understand, like, conceptually, it's very simple, right? You get an EEPROM, you flash the XT IDE BIOS onto it, and you stick it into an ISA network card. Makes sense to me. I get you. I'm following you. I don't have an EEPROM flasher. I'm a little weirded out by the floppy drive, though. I'd like to know what's going on with it, why I can't get a disk into it. I'm assuming it's a standard floppy drive, but like, don't make that assumption because, PS2 doesn't have standard floppy drive. Texelec has the SD to IDE to ISA adapter with the XT IDE ROM on it. Nice. Huh. There you go. That makes sense. That's pretty great. Pickle says my random guess it's a 720 kilobyte. That makes sense. I don't know if anybody other than Apple did 3.5-inch drives that were single-sided. It's just such low-hanging fruit. Get this shroud off of here. See if it'll at least. Oh, there's a gnat in here. An opportunity to get it. Let's see. There we go. Okay. The head is a little bit off. Slightly askew. Oh. Yeah, that is a super frozen mechanism. Maybe that's all it was. Interesting. Yeah, it's not happy. Ah. Alright, so that's not working right. I've got the disc in it at least. Show you what I'm doing. It's not 100% happy. You can see when I push it in here, it doesn't go. And this lever here is supposed to pull the aperture across. It looks like it's missing its spring. If I wind that out, whoops, if I wind that out manually, and then plug our disc in here, just need 3 hands to do this. But you can see if I plug that in there, then it'll take it just fine. So that's missing a spring. Otherwise, it looks like it's pretty okay. I don't see any cap juice on the underside. There's some fuzz on the read-write head. So it definitely needs to be cleaned. Smodius says sticky grease. Well, sorta. Everything seems like it. Oh, that doesn't. Yeah, that doesn't move freely. Yeah, it needs to be cleaned and regreased. You're right. This lever is definitely not correct, though. Not sure where that spring would go. Well, it's almost there. The shroud for it is very strange. Oh, I think the shroud may have been on backwards, that's why. The shroud was blocking some of the components from working. I think the shroud was just on backwards. If I put that back on, yeah, that no longer interferes with inserting the disc. Okay, so that's the thing that needs work. A little bit of floppy drive work on that. But yeah, that's the Tandy 1000 that I am now the owner of. I know absolutely nothing about. What else? Nice. Yeah, if you I knew it was something like that, where it's like where it was some famous sound chip, but yeah. The SG-1000 Master System Game Gear. Yeah, that's cool. That's cool. Welcome to existing on the internet. That's what that was. It's alright. Deleted him. Pretty cool. So, Francois is here. Hello, welcome to the stream. You'll notice a distinct lack of Sega Saturns here. It turns out I don't have the right AV cable for it. I think I have a AV cable for the Model 2 Genesis, I think. I'll have to check again. So, bummer. A lot of stuff broke this stream, unfortunately. I really wish that DigiDesktop worked, because that would have been nice. It would have been super nice. I have a horrible addiction to vintage video capture. Like, I've got the video capture, add-on board is in my Power Mac 8500. It does work, pretty sure. It does at least show me a blue screen when I try and use it in the video player. I picked up that big card for the Quadro 700 that was a video input card that also didn't work. I've also got a Creative Video Blaster in the other room that I don't have the cable for. I would love to find the cable for that, but I'm guessing that one also doesn't work. It's really hard to find working vintage video capture solutions, but I keep trying to look for them because I've got a problem. Yeah, there you go. Ifrit says I've got one of those for my G3 Mini Tower. Yeah, those are great. It's it was, I don't know, it was a feature I don't think anybody was looking for back in the day, but you know, I think there was so much interest around like the Mac TV that Apple was like, hey, you know what? Why not? Let's throw the video input stuff into their into the more recent models. Why not? You know? Clarjon is back. Hello, welcome back. I need more people as moderators on my channel. Had to throw somebody out. But yes, I don't. Play some PlayStation. The PlayStation works at least for like 10 or 15 minutes before it starts going crazy. What else? I don't really have anything else planned. Francois says, aren't those with mini DIN 7 or 8 pins? Yeah. Yeah. It is. It's a little weird. Because of course it has to be a little weird. So it's sort of mini DIN, but it's got a flat spot on it. I think this is the Model 2 Genesis connector. I'm pretty sure. It's either that or it's the 32X video connector. The Saturn's video out looks real similar, but crucially does not have that flat spot on it. Well, it looks like it does. That's why I was so confused when I was trying to plug it in. You can see like it sort of looks like it's got that flat spot, but if you try and plug that in like that way, it does not go in there. Like it really super does not go in there. It really doesn't want to. Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. Pixel Pipe says it looks like the Model 2 Genesis. I think that's what it is. They're so close. They're not quite not quite the same. And yeah, I think all those pins give you S video along with composite video, and then of course stereo audio out. That's why there's so many pins on it. And yeah, of course the composite cable, it uses the shield on the connector. Uses the shield as ground, and then the signals go through the 3 pins. So you've got video, audio, left, and audio right. Ifrit says Genesis uses mini DIN 9, Saturn uses mini DIN 10. Mcho Devetkov says S3 metal. So I have, Pixel Pipe says, did you end up getting that Matrox G100? I've been trying to keep it on the DL because I wanted to put a video out on it, but yes. Because ADHD, I have not gotten a video out on it, but yes, I did get the G100. Where is it? Here it is. Yeah. Matrox G100. Let me throw it under the Saturn here. There it is. This thing is wild. The entire reason I want to make a video about this card is because I love it. It's so silly to use this Saturn as a display stand. It's so silly. Yeah, no, they're not easy to find. So they go on eBay that you can find them under the name the Matrox Productiva. That was apparently how they sold these things. But yeah, it's the G100. It's the follow-up architecture to the Mystique, the original Mystique, with, you know, the no texture filtering, the stipple transparency, you know, it's wild card, the affine texture mapping. They made a follow-up to it. It doesn't fix any of the problems. Well, it doesn't fix any of the graphical issues, right? Like, it doesn't fix any of the deficiencies. So it's still, you know, no texture filtering, affine texture mapping, stipple transparency, but it's significantly faster, and it has multi-texturing support for some reason. It's wild. It's kind of cool because it's also, you know, it's fully DirectX compliant, so you can run early DirectX games on it, and they look like they're running on a Sega Saturn. It's pretty great. Yeah, see? You just have to know what to look for. They're super cheap. They're out there. Oh, so the Saturn has stealth RGB output. I see. That would be nice. Yeah, making my own RGB cable for it would be pretty great. I have a GBSC that I picked up several months ago, and I've never gotten it to actually work. I don't know if it just doesn't like my PlayStation, or if it just doesn't work. And Yaldrich is here. Hello. Good evening. You'd notice a distinct lack of Sega Saturns. I'm sorry. Turns out I have the wrong AV cable. It's real close, but we're pretty sure. Consensus in chat is that we've got the Model 2 Genesis AV cable and not the Sega Saturn AV cable. Pixel Pipes, I think you need to go get that. I think you need to go get that. You want to race? You want to see who can make a G100 video first? I think you'll probably win. Pixel Pipe says, "Oh wait, what was the DigiDesktop? That is this beastie." That massive chunk is there. Get this thing to focus. There we go. That is the DigiDesktop. It is a dual output, quad input video capture card from Matrox. It's wild. It captures 4 up to S video quality SD streams through these absolutely bonkers cables. They're like predecessors to the DMS59 LFH60 cables that they use later. But then you get 1 VGA out for your trouble, and then 2 composite in. In this case, these two are S video, but then they are also adapters that turn the S video into BNC for composite, like thus. Totally wild. Yeah, unfortunately, step 0 of getting that thing to work is, you know, to get it into a machine that can use it, and it wants to be your primary graphics card, and it doesn't work. I plugged it into my 440BX Pentium 2 machine, and it's currently running a Pentium 2. Don't at me. But I did nothing. None of this didn't work in any of the slots. It didn't even see it as a graphics card, unfortunately. Which is unfortunate because it's got 2 whole you know, Matrox Millenniums on there. Come on. The user manual for the thing and the drivers are only available on Matrox's FTP site, like literally FTP. Like I had to download FileZilla and use FTP for the first time in 10 years to get the manual for the thing. And yeah, if you already have a graphics card, they say take it out, put this in its place. And no, it just doesn't want to. It just doesn't want to. I'm gonna do some more testing with it later. starting to test it an hour before stream is the wrong time to start testing unknown hardware, but that's me. The unfortunate part is that like there's no electrolytic caps on this thing, right? Like it's all tantalums. It's all just, surface mount chips. Nothing looks like it's been, burnt or blown up or anything. Like there's a power stage in here that looks fine. There's no discoloration on the board, like there was no overheating. But she don't work. She don't work. It's unfortunate. That's a monster card. It's all kinds of stuff on that thing. Yeah. There you go, see? Now I'm thanks Amber. Now I'm $20 poorer, but I've gained 100 G's. Oh, Andy Eldridge asks, so if you were in my position and you were about to put together a cabinet of important and cool graphics cards and could show perhaps 10 or 15, which ones would they be? That is a tough question. That is a tough question. The Pickle says it might be worth looking at the pins under a microscope for loose connections. That's another thing that I don't have. I don't have a microscope. Andy says this would be for a computing museum. Well, you gotta have the first GPU, right? So you gotta go grab a GeForce 256. I think the DDR probably would count. You don't have to look up grab a GeForce 256 SDR. Yeah, you gotta have a GeForce. You gotta put a Voodoo card in there of some kind. Maybe just the original, the Voodoo graphics, because that was a monumental card for the time. Part of my issue with my Voodoo 5 video I'm working on is like, how do I follow up the original Voodoo? Because the original Voodoo was really, honestly, really important for the whole industry. Like it changed the direction of the entire graphics industry. Interestingly, not permanently, because the early cards like the Verite and the Verge actually were programmable cards. They executed instructions over a series of clocks, rather than the Voodoo, which strived to be fixed function and do everything in one clock. And that was how that card ended up making fixed function cards all the way up through unified shaders. But it's interesting, like that was a definitely card that changed the industry. Versus the Voodoo 5 back there. Also an important card, but for different reasons, right? Like that was 3DFX really, really not in a leadership position anymore. Kind of just doing their own thing over in the corner, and it cost them everything. It cost them 100% of their existence. Trina's Technobabble says you got to put a Trident card in there. Andy says I've got all the 3DFX cards already there. Okay. I don't know if I'd put all of them in there, but like certainly the Voodoo 1 and maybe the Voodoo 2. Like those are very important cards. Savage 3D, at least for S3 texture compression. We still use S3 texture compression nowadays. It's just called DirectX texture compression. Yeah, that makes sense. As it's not a brilliant card, but S3 TC was actually more important than we give credit for, I think. I think I've got that one out here. Maybe I don't. Oh, it's in the other room. I finally managed to track down a working Savage 3D, the original Savage 3D. The only one I'm missing now from my S3 collection is Savage 2000, which I don't think I'm ever going to get my hands on. I remember wanting one of those when I was a kid. the Savage 2000. Like, yeah, it's transformer lighting. It's not NVIDIA. There's a reason nobody bought it. 8800 GTX. Yeah, yeah. The first Tesla card was pretty important. Unified shaders were a big deal. That's that's the start of the modern GPU era, right? Like 8800 GTX, G80. Yeah, Ifrit says S3 was weird because the cards themselves were mediocre, but the tech was pretty neat, and some lived on for a long time and set industry trends. BPS Car Audio asks, do you have a Savage 9? The IX. I don't. Those are really interesting cards. The later Savages are very interesting. I don't own one. I wasn't planning on collecting any S3 cards past the Savage 2000, mostly just because they're usually just retreads of the Savage 4, like with additional stuff added on. I don't know if any of them actually have like working vertex shaders or transformer lighting. Pixelpipe says DX10 is where my collecting stops. The 8000 series is too important for me to ignore. Yeah, G80 was major. Oh, BPS Car Audio says I can't seem to find drivers for the Savage IX. I know they're floating around. So we've had a couple of folks talking about doing videos on them, so they've had to be able to test them. My first stop for looking for drivers is usually Vogon's drivers. I'm guessing you've already checked there, and they aren't there. I don't see them. Probably too new for Vogons. Ifrit says Riva 128 for the Voodoo competition. I would argue for the Riva TNT, honestly. I think the TNT versus Voodoo 2 battle was a bigger battle. Having lived through the era, I think that was a bigger battle than the Riva 128. The Riva 128 ended up being in a lot of OEM systems because it was a good checkmark card, right? Because you could just put in one card and say you've got 2D acceleration, 3D acceleration, DirectX support, 32-bit color. Never mind how well it works. Not that it's a terrible card. It's definitely a first effort. It's definitely a first effort. But the TNT, man, the TNT felt like it was unstoppable. Yeah, and that was, Asmodeus says, my 1998 build has the TNT and the Voodoo 2 and SLI. That was super popular. Super popular. Yep. 100%. That would have been a top-of-the-line gaming system back then. Yeah, that's cool stuff. Andy Ulrich asks, does anyone know what the first EGA and VGA cards were? So VGA was introduced with the IBM PS2, as far as I remember it. Maybe someone can correct me, but I think like VGA, as we know it, didn't exist until the PS2 was launched. So like, you can't see it back there, but buried behind all the garbage behind me is a PS2 Model 80, which has VGA on it. It's old enough VGA that one of the pins on the connector is actually sealed. So you gotta clip one of the pins on your VGA connector to actually get it to work in that. But I think that's where VGA comes from. I don't think there was VGA before the PS2. Asmodeus is the Model 30 used VGA, but IBM called it XGA. I thought XGA was limited to, was mostly the 1024 by 768. I thought that was a different thing. As far as EGA, though, I don't know, actually. I don't know what the first EGA card was. Oh, I missed your message, Emshko. Emshko says, my first AGP VGA card was the S3 Trio 3D. That's an interesting card. It's one I want to include in my S3 video. I've got one. It does work. Because it's the S3 Verge, but they fixed all the problems with it. What I find really interesting with it is that it no longer works with the Verge's S3 Metal API, which makes me think that, like, the problems with the Verge were fundamental to the design of the chip. They weren't just like bugs in the implementation. Like, they just didn't work. Pixelpipe says accept the speed problem. Yeah, no, exactly. It's a Verge. It even performs like a Verge, except like it can do transparency while doing texture filtering. It's just, you know, it's the same speed as a Verge. Oh, the Verge was so bad. I had a Verge in the home PC back then. It was a PCI Verge. We were on I think a Pentium one. No, not a Pentium 100. It's a Cyrix. That's right. We had a 6X86L. I think the PR166. So it was 133 megahertz. What a dog. A Cyrix with a Verge. It was not a gaming machine. Oh boy, that was not a gaming machine. Well, I'm gonna have to try and track down a Saturn AV cable, and we can revisit this at some point in the future. Because I think I don't know if I'm gonna do it next stream, but at some point I need to set up the new printer, and that's gonna take up most of my space to do. So that might end up being next stream, is setting up the SVO8. Because I'm hopeful this week I can get some work done on the next video, which is actually taking the cheap PC Challenge PC and plugging a VR headset into it. A very cheap VR headset into it. See how it works. See if you can make a PC VR setup for less than the price of a Quest. Even like a Quest 2, I think, at this point. Because we're well under $200 for the whole thing, for the headset and the PC itself. Ifrit says, speaking of Voodoos, I had an AGP Voodoo 3 3000, but killed it with a BIOS update that it definitely didn't need. That's so sad. No. Voodoo 3 was kind of a great Voodoo. Unfortunately, I think strategically speaking, it needed to not exist. Right? Like, I feel like 3DFX would have been in a better position in 1999, at the end of 1999, if they had not bothered with Avenger and just concentrated on VSA 100. I know VSA 100 is in all the literature nowadays is supposedly an upgraded version of Avenger, but like it's a completely different architecture, right? It's a 2x2 instead of a 1x2 architecture, and it's, I don't know, I don't think it's actually that related. But imagine if they had released the Voodoo 4 instead of the Voodoo 3, right? Like they would have had feature parity with the TNT2 and still would have been faster. And like, woulda, coulda, shoulda. I think everybody from the original 3DFX founder team was gone at that point. They just jump shipped. Probably best. Ah. Ah. Oh, yeah, I don't know. I don't have anything else for you guys. I have a lot of stuff I need to pack up. Honestly, like from now for the next 6 months, like my main project here at home is packing. I need to inventory stuff. I need to box it up, mark what box it's in, and get it out of here into a storage unit. Like that's the thing I need to do right now. So I'm trying to figure out what I can do for streams going forward for the next, 6 months times 4, the next 24 weeks. It's a little daunting when I think about it. Like, what do I do for my next 24 streams? And then make sure I don't store that until absolutely necessary. It's a lot. Running a YouTube channel, turns out, is a lot. Oh, Freet says, gotta have a bucket ready. This frames can't be good. I will, small spoilers, but I did plug a VR headset into the Cheap PC Challenge PC, and actually it was pretty good, honestly. It was pretty good. As Modi says, streaming inventory. There's no effort in November, and then there's like bad content. I don't know if anybody wants to see me inventory my stuff. Eric's Edge, always with the wise words, says it's an impossible task, so accept it will be hit or miss. But I can't handle that, Eric. You don't understand. The perfectionist inside me says I have to be able to get this done yesterday, correctly, the first time, and not make any mistakes. Oh. Go with the flow. Words I aspire to and frequently fail to live up to. Go with the flow. I gotta have everything planned from the start. And if it doesn't go right, I get super anxious. I have seen your streams. I mean, they're fine. Yeah, your streams are fine. It happens when you try and look at today's stream, right? Like, absolutely nothing I wanted to do today worked. It happens sometimes. That's why I have a Tandy 1000 on my desk. Yeah, 100%. BPS Car Audio says, all I have to say is ADHD. Yep. 100%. 100%. Oh. Oh, heck yeah. 12AX7, since I remember my Quantum 3D Banshee fondly. Paired it with a Celeron 266. Heck yeah, that's awesome. Nice. You have a Voodoo 5 6000. You're one of the rare ones, huh? That's pretty cool. Nice, nice. Yeah, mine's just a 5500. It was a donation to the channel. Very generous donation to the channel. I don't think I could get my hands on one otherwise. Which is pretty great. So I'm trying to do it justice with the Voodoo 5 video. Hopefully I can get that to work. That's true. Eric's Edge says you could interview people who have stuff in the domain they can show off, and you can ask them informative questions. I could. That also requires prep work, but then it'd be pretty cool, right? Like, I'd love to interview somebody and just see, just pick their brain, See what they think about the hobby. Everybody does it for a slightly different reason. 12AX7 says, I'm ashamed to admit that I paid for it, keeping it forever. Hey, you paid for it? Yeah, I'd keep it forever too. Honestly. Pixel Pipe says, I volunteer as tribute. Interview Pixel Pipes, that'd be pretty cool. We'll stay in touch. We'll think about that. It'd be pretty neat. I don't have anything set up for an interview. Anything set up for an interview. I wonder if I can pipe Zoom into my OBS. Do an interview that way. I gotta figure out what's wrong with this stupid camera first so it stops overexposing me. Crying out loud. Just... If you're gonna make me look like a vampire, can I at least have the fun, the fun stuff that vampires get? Come on, camera. Yeah, I have a very long laundry list of stuff I need to get done. Currently, my only Blue SCSI V2 is this one, which is funny because like I put a Pico W on it for the wireless, Dynaport Ethernet emulation. I don't use it in anything yet, because all of my Macs that I've been using this in have working Ethernet connections. They get on the internet just fine. But I have a pack of newer Blue SCSI V2s that I want to put together because they're the ones that support SCSI initiator mode. Initiator mode? Yeah, initiator mode. Where you can plug them into a disk and then they'll just image the disk straight onto the SD card. No computer required. Love that. I have a box full of old hard drives that I want to see if I can get running, and if they do, I want to get them imaged onto the Blue SCSI, if I can. I'd love it to. BPS Caraudius is more like a ghost. Yeah, that's how I feel most days. Just feel like a ghost. I'll have to pick your brain about it, Eric, to get... Yeah, Discord voice chat or Zoom into OBS. I could probably, Discord you can pop out into a window, and then I should be able to capture that window in OBS. That should be pretty easy to do. Hey, Freet says, hooray for data preservation. Yeah, exactly. I'm just curious about what's on the drives. They're super old. I have no idea. So far, I've had uncommonly good luck with old hard drives. Like, my two Quadra 700s came with their, I think, original SCSI drives. Maybe they were upgraded. I want to say they were like 700 megabytes? I don't think that was original. I don't think they originally came with that much storage space. But they both work. And I was able to get images off of both of them. Just the normal way, the old-fashioned way. Just plug a Blue SCSI into the back of the machine. Use disk copy to get an image off of it. Dry in here today. Oh, it's fine. Eric's Edge says, run a separate machine you capture the video audio from instead of overloading one machine. No worries. This machine's fine. I'm currently running my stream on my gaming PC. Like this is my VR setup right here. Y'all are living inside my VR setup. So I've got a Ryzen 5800X 3D as a CPU. I've got 32 gigs of RAM, and I've got an RTX 3090 in here. Plenty of performance to do a Zoom call over OBS. Should be fine. I just don't know how to set it up. $12AX7 says the MGA prosumer card shown looks interesting. This is the DigiDesktop. This is what we were supposed to use today. to capture video off of these Sega Saturns that I was going to be testing today. It turned out to not work, unfortunately. I need to do some additional testing with it and see if it just, like the impression that I have, the Matrox impression that I have, it's just particular to a type of motherboard. It just doesn't like my 440BX. It'd be weird because a lot of my cards work in my 440BX. Maybe this one doesn't like it. Maybe it needs the 440LX. It is its minimum requirement is a Pentium 2, so maybe it just doesn't like the BX chipset. I don't know. But hopefully, if I can get it working, we can actually do some like vintage video capture. That's the idea. It's old enough that you'd think, oh yeah, you just put that into like Windows XP, right? No. The drivers for this are Windows NT 4 only. They never made Windows 2000 drivers for it, let alone Windows XP drivers. And they're super hard to get a hold of. You gotta log into Matrox's FTP site to get them, like 1995 FTP site, which is still online somehow. Wild. Oh, Clarjon is off to do VR themselves. Have a wonderful night. I will see you later. Yeah, for real. 12AX7 says, yeah, it's a capture card. I still have my original Saturn console, which is awesome. I wish I still had mine. Looking forward to seeing how one's captures. All the new stuff for the consoles now are great. Yeah, it's really cool. We got new stuff for consoles. We got new stuff for old PCs. Everyone was just suggesting that I get an XT IDE for my Tandy 1000 because it'll make setting it up so much easier. Stuff that just didn't exist, like even 10 years ago. All of the cool stuff that we have nowadays for these old machines is really, really great. Really great. Yeah, I was just talking about, maybe you're familiar, there's a ROM loader for the Saturn that plugs into the cartridge slot, right? And you put ISO images or bin queues on an SD card that in the cartridge that goes in the cartridge slot. I never knew that Saturn could do that. Could load games off of the cartridge slot, which is pretty cool. But apparently it works, and they're super cheap. I'm looking forward to getting one once I figure out if any of my Saturns actually still work. Satiator, yeah. Ifrit says I think it's called Satiator. I think that is what it is. No, that's it, yes, the Saru. That's the one, 12AX7, the Saru. That's the thing I'm thinking of, yeah. I need to pick one up too. I wanted to see which one of my Saturns actually worked, if any of them work. If I need to do more work on them. Yeah. BPS Car Audio says the Raspberry Pi has made modding things so nice. Yeah, it's cool. Good stuff. Mcho Devetkov says MGA sucks. 2 monitors instead of performance. Who needs it? I was not then 20 years ago. Let me show you something. This is one of my favorite cards in my collection. This is the G2 Plus Quad. This is 4 G200 accelerators on a card for 4 monitor outputs. I love this thing. It's hilarious. And yeah, these are full-fat G200s. Like, they're not like the fastest accelerator that Matrox ever made, but like, you can play some games on these. Like, if you're running at 640 by 480, they run just fine. You know, they've got the full complement of VRAM you'd expect on a G200. I forget if that was 4 or 8 megabytes, but you get it all on there. And yeah, it's 4 of them. What year is this one? That's a good question. See if there's a copyright on here. I want to say something like, oh, here you go, copyright 2000. 2001, sorry. 2001. So obviously, right, like, performance would have been GeForce 2 GTS. Instead, we get, you know, quad monitor out with G200s, but still, I think they're pretty cool. I have a pipe dream far in the future when my channel is successful and I have a separate space dedicated to it, that I would like to have several of these and a whole bank of monitors plugged into them, since you can do 4 per card. And I'd like to have a real video wall in the back of my videos running on these cards. That's my vision for the channel. Yeah, I love these. These are cool. They're not super easy to find. They do pop up on eBay. They're getting more expensive, unfortunately. So I probably need to snap up the ones I want to make my video wall before they become the same price as everything else Matrox Professional. But yeah, this one's cool. I like it. They also made a dual version where they omit these 2 chips, and then they don't bother putting heat sinks on the original 2. It does exactly what you'd expect. It's got the LFH, yes, LFH 60 connectors on here. These are not DMS 59. They're low force Helix 60. They're 60 pins. They do not work with LF8 or with DMS 59 connectors or cables. You need the LFH 60 cables for them. But yeah, I think you can get dual single link DVI out of these, or dual VGA per connector. It's pretty great. These are weird. I like them. But I guess, you know, I just proved your point, MJGO, so I'm sorry. It's 2001, so you get 4 displays instead of performance. And no, these do not work in any kind of SLI. They're just 4 discrete graphics cards that just show up in Windows as 4 different devices. $12AX7 says almost a predecessor of the triple head to go. Matrox is doing multi-monitor stuff for a long time. For a long time. I mean, this big monster here, this video input card, they shipped optional cables with it that would give you 4 VGA outs, and that was $19.99. So that's pretty wild. Except, you know, they're using the original Matrox Millennium, so not exactly great. You didn't get any video ingest if you had the 4 monitor outs, but you could do 2 monitor outs and then have the 4 ingest lanes for SD video, which is still pretty impressive. Although again, yeah, $19.99. Have a Matrox Millennium instead of, you know, anything else. I think it was just the nature of their professional products, because they, you know, but they were shipping the G450 at that point, or at least the G400. So, like, why didn't they just put the G400 on there? Probably just because their professional products division didn't need it, per se. Need. Yup. Pretty cool stuff. Anyway, yeah, I think that's where I'm going to end it today. Sorry about the Sega Saturns. I'm going to actually, right as soon as I close down stream, I'm going to go take a look for the correct AV cable. And we'll revisit this in the future. Maybe not next stream. I think next stream might be setting up the Soval. So that should be fun. It's going to be something else. I should figure out where I'm going to put my second camera in order to see the Soval on my desk. Amchiko says, Matrox have GPUs now, and they still suck. I mean, at this point, aren't they they're just rebranding AMD cards at this point, aren't they? Yeah, I don't think they actually make their own GPUs anymore. Sadly. Maybe not sadly, the Parhelia was kind of a flop. But, yeah, I think that's going to be it for today. I hope everybody had a good time, despite, you know, not actually doing what I had said on the tin. Sorry. Yeah. Yeah, there you go. Yeah. Matrox says AMD rebrands focused on frame time, stability, and compatibility. Yeah, makes sense. That's their market. I think they do what they do, like professional video e-display stuff, commercial displays, things like that. Eric said, just thanks for the stream. You're welcome. I hope everybody had a fun time. I hope the rest of your weekend goes well. I forgot to ask how everybody's week was. I hope it's been good. Mine's been a blur. This whole week has just been a blur. But so far, so good. Fingers crossed it stays that way. Hope everybody has a good one, and you know, stay safe and have fun. May the PC parts be ever in your favor. Oh, I never get that. I never get my end stream bumper correct. Anyway, may the PC parts be ever in your favor. Have a good night, everybody.